You woke up chained, couldn't remember how you got here, 20 others beside you, all chained. The ship was moving. 3 days ago you were free, had a name, had a family. Now, property? They didn't ask your name, just checked your teeth, measured your arms, examined you like livestock. You were 17, worth 12 ounces of silver, less than a good sword. Wait, this wasn't Rome. This was worse. The Vikings didn't keep records, didn't count bodies. 10% of their entire population, slaves, hundreds of thousands of people, all property. Rewind 6 hours, dawn. The longship struck. You heard screaming, saw flames, ran toward the gates. Too late. One Viking grabbed you. You fought back. He smiled, then hit you with the flat of his axe. That's when you stopped being you. They called you thrall. You'd learn what that meant soon enough. What happened next changed everything. So what was life actually like as a Viking slave? How brutal was the treatment? Could anyone survive this? Before we continue, hit that like button and subscribe. The ship docked at Hedeby, a trading hub, massive, hundreds of people, dozens of ships, and slaves. Everywhere you looked, slaves. They dragged you off the ship, put you in a pen with the others, examined you like livestock, checked your teeth, your muscles, your hands, looking for strength, for value. A saga describes one Viking examining enslaved women before purchase, treating them like merchandise at a bordello. That was you now. Merchandise. The auction started. Men shouted bids. Your life reduced to numbers. Silver coins changing hands. Someone bought you. A farmer from Norway. You were his now. Slaves could own nothing, inherit nothing, leave nothing. Every legal right you once had, gone. You passed from person to property in seconds. Most captured slaves never stayed with their captors. The majority entered wider trafficking networks, transported to markets across the Viking world. Some reached the Middle East. Others ended up in Irish settlements. You ended up on a Norwegian farm. The farmer branded you. Some Vikings tattooed their thralls. Others used iron brands, physical markers, making escape impossible. Everyone would know what you were. You weren't alone. An estimated 10% of Viking Scandinavia's population were slaves, hundreds of thousands, all property, all trapped. You woke before dawn, always. Thralls rose first. First tasks were bound to 2 elements, fire and water. You lit the hearth, fetched water from the stream, winter or summer, rain or snow, every single day. Then came the real work. If you were male, you worked the fields, ploughing, sowing, harvesting, backbreaking labor from sunrise to sunset. Thralls built fences, fertilized fields, tended animals, dug up peat. The hardest jobs, always the hardest jobs. Female thralls worked the household, cooking, cleaning, weaving, supervising free children. But the work never ended, and night brought different horrors. Female thralls in particular faced nightly fears, including the threat of sexual abuse. Masters and their sons viewed enslaved women as property, available for exploitation. No one stopped them, no one cared. You lived with the animals. Slaves typically shared living space with livestock in the darkest end of the longhouse, cramped, cold, smoke-filled, the smell of animals constant. That was home now. Food, scraps, evening meals were prepared for the free members. Thralls then served whatever scraps were left. Some nights, almost nothing. You learned to be hungry, always hungry. Some thralls were given small plots to grow food for themselves, but this was rare. Most relied entirely on their master's leftovers. Sleep came last, always last. Thralls went to bed after free members of the household. If the household was entertaining, no sleep came at all. You worked exhausted, worked sick, worked injured, didn't matter. Your master controlled everything. When you ate, where you slept, what you did, your body belonged to him, completely. Under Norse law, You had no rights, none. Norwegian legal language referred to slaves using the neuter gender, not masculine, not feminine, neuter, like objects, like tools. Your master could beat you. Owners could punish slaves as much as they wanted. No limits, no oversight. If you refused to work, corporal punishment was legally allowed. If a male thrall refused to work and no solution was found, the master could maim him or kill him. Just kill him. No trial, no consequences. The punishments were creative, brutal. One thrall killed his master and tried to run. He had all 4 limbs cut off. They let him live. He spent the rest of his life crawling, a living warning to other slaves. Masters could use various forms of mutilation from time to time and place to place. Cut off hands, feet, noses, ears, whatever they wanted. Archaeological evidence confirms the violence. Research on graves of slaves in Scandinavia strongly indicates brutal treatment, broken bones that healed wrong, signs of repeated trauma, bodies showing years of abuse. Some thralls were found in graves with Viking masters. Servants or slaves were violently sacrificed to accompany their master in the afterlife. Even death didn't free you. An account describes an aging woman, the angel of death, killing slave girls at funerals. She would throttle them while stabbing them in the heart, then bury them with their masters. Your life wasn't yours, your death wasn't yours, nothing was yours. Most thralls died young, worked to death, beaten to death, sacrificed. The graves tell the story. Thralls found in graves often suffered violent deaths. Their bones show mistreatment before death, trauma, abuse, violence, but some escaped bondage. Rarely, very rarely. Freedom came 3 ways: manumission, purchase, or birth. In some circumstances, thralls were allowed to retain small portions of proceeds from selling goods. Over years, decades even, you might save enough to buy your freedom. Most never got the chance. Some slave owners allowed thralls extra work so they could save money and buy their way out. But this required a generous master. Most weren't generous. Manumission meant your master freed you voluntarily. Thralls could be manumitted or released from slavery at any time. Some masters freed slaves in their wills. Others did it for religious reasons after converting to Christianity. But freedom wasn't freedom. Not really. Freed thralls remained obligated to former owners and were never regarded as fully equal to freeborn folk. You had lower legal rights, lower compensation if someone harmed you. You were marked forever. Only your children's children might gain full rights. In time, grandchildren of freed thralls would gain the full rights of the freeborn. But you? Never fully free. Some thralls were born to enslaved parents. If thralls had children together, the children became slaves as well. Slavery was hereditary, passed down like property. Men abused thrall women, and many had children with their owners. These children became thralls unless their fathers acknowledged them. Most didn't. Escape was impossible. Escape required transportation and resources that slaves did not have. You were far from home. Branded or tattooed, everyone would know what you were. Where could you run? According to archaeologist Neil Price, this was a slave economy. The entire Viking Age ran on enslaved labor, trade, expansion, wealth, all built on thralls. Kidnapping, sale, and forced exploitation of human beings was always a central pillar of Viking culture. Not an accident, not a side effect. Central, essential. The scale was massive. Researchers conducting additional analysis have revised the scale of Viking slave-taking sharply upward. Hundreds of thousands of people, captured, sold, worked to death. Your experience as a thrall, waking before dawn every day, doing the hardest labor, eating scraps, sleeping with animals, being beaten whenever your master wanted, having no rights, no freedom, no hope. Thralls were seen as cattle or as advanced domestic animals. That's how Vikings viewed you. Valuable cattle, but cattle nonetheless. Some thralls had it slightly better. Skilled craftsmen, household managers, but even they were property. Even they could be sold, beaten, killed. The violence varied by region. Norway's Viking Age was much more violent than Denmark's, with constant combat and deadly disputes. If you ended up in Norway, your chances of violent death increased. About 6% of Viking Danes died violently, mostly through legal executions. Controlled violence, official violence, but violence nonetheless. Christianity eventually reduced slavery. Thralldom was outlawed in Sweden in 1335, but that was centuries after the Viking Age ended. Centuries too late for you. When Vikings stopped raiding, they stopped importing slaves. Those already enslaved eventually died. Some were freed. They became tenant farmers, still poor, still working land for former masters, but technically free. Thralls and their descendants integrated into Norwegian society, becoming ancestors alongside Vikings. But the 19th century created a myth of proud Vikings. Slavery wasn't part of that narrative. The thralls were forgotten. That was life as a Viking slave, captured in a raid, sold at market, worked to death, beaten, abused, killed and buried with your master, or if you were lucky, worked for decades until you died of exhaustion. Behind every Viking raid was the appalling trauma of passing from person to property in seconds. That was your life. Property, cattle, a tool that could think. Most people picture Vikings as warriors, explorers, heroes, but the Viking Age was built on slavery, on captured people working until they broke, on children born into bondage, on violence so routine no one questioned it. That's the truth about life as a Viking thrall. Brutal, hopeless, short. If you made it to the end, hit that like and subscribe for more history that shows the whole truth, not just the legend. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.